I am going to attempt to do kind of I think I want to do a small little running stitch circle around. And so we're kind of breaking this idea that sewing only has to be in this manner, where we're poking and pulling. We can add lots of different textures and layers. We can do a little bit of weaving in there. This is going to be like a sun. I thought about doing it with this lovely little perfectly round one, but I just like that, and I think it looks like a cloud. So I'm going to keep that in there. And then I thought about doing a different color, but I think instead I'm going to keep the same color. And so I'm going to come up next to that last stitch that I did. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the eye of my needle, and I'm just going to weave it around. I'm going to go through here, eye first, all the way through until I get a little loop. I can keep that loop there. I can either just kind of keep it loose, which is kind of the way it's intended to be, or I can tack it down. This is going to come back, and then I can go back through. It can be a bigger bump or a small one. And again, it's just a bunch of play. Hold that in place. Bring it back in. So it's just kind of weaving in and out. So it's something, if you feel you want to try. Go for it. If it seems like something that isn't exciting for you, then save it for another day. Oops. I'm going to get that one back in there. Stay back on track. Okay, I'm going to do that, and I'll show you the finished project at the end. So I got this little vine. We have the seed stitch. And I created this little sun by doing a circle and then weaving in and out. And it stayed together pretty nice. I've even folded this project up, and it has a nice bumpiness in there. So I want to go ahead and play around with some bullion knots, as well as some just regular French knots. And I was thinking about starting with the bullion knots first because they're a little challenging. So I was going to show you, if you're ready to move beyond some of these decorative things and you'd like to have a little challenge. I always have to rewatch how to do a bullion knot before I get started. So, oops, I'll try to get it really, really close so you can see and work with me. So the thing about a bullion knot is wherever you bring your needle up, that's where your needle's going to come back up over. That's where it's going to end. Or actually, really, that's going to be where the loops on this string are going to start. And then wherever you take your needle down to start, before pivoting back up there, is where the loops on the thread are going to end. So you have to think strategically about that. I'm going to kind of try to do a little bit of a crescent here. So I'm just going to kind of do some crescents around, maybe a second layer in the middle, and then finish off with some French knots in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead, pardon my iron, I had it on, and I'm going to poke down right here. I'm I'm going to pivot my needle. We know how to do that. You know how to do that because we've been doing the running stitch, and it's all about that. Even though this is straight, you'll be able to see I can actually manipulate this bullion into a curve. And so then we just take, and I like to push it like really close to get the end of my needle, the eye, if you will, of my needle really close. And then you just wrap it as many times as you think that you will need. I don't know that it really matters if I go under first or over. One of you might actually know better than I, and you could post in the comments. But I always tend to do over first and then wind towards myself. And sometimes I do a gauge. Now that's 10. And I think that I'll do 2 more. So I kind of have to hold that in place and then pull my needle. Oops. And at first it's kind of wonky with all this thread, and now I've got these little loops here. So I pulled it up there. I'm going to have my thread come up. I'm going to stick it down to where the first bullion started. And I'm going to pivot it back up to where the thread is, because you want to be able to have your threads very close right up on your needle. I like to poke it up, my needle up, and I like to have a really long needle. I've already poked myself. And then I wrap around 11 times or 12 usually. And you can hold with your other finger and thumb and pull it up. Since I have other threads in there, I have to be mindful about how that loose thread is moving. Then once it gets pretty close, I can keep tugging at it. Now, this is just my little one in the way. So I'm going to cinch that up, and you can see how it's curling. It's kind of curling that way. I'm going to go ahead and poke my needle back down here to secure that. There we go. Oops. But then so that it lays down flat like the others, go ahead and lean that upward. I'm going to bring it back up. And back down right in the side of that sun. So I kind of didn't get that one. That's okay, I kind of like it. And then it's kind of got this little bullion knot around it, and I could go around and around, and I might go ahead and do one more and then end with a few dots on the inside. So that's how that's looking. I'm really liking how this sun's looking, and everything's starting to come together.